show of the new year, and I am just so glad to be back with you here on the WCEG network. And excuse me, I've got a very special guest here today, but before I do that, I want to talk about that you are listening to the WCEG network on WCEGtalkradio.com or watch us live on your smart TV, YouTube, and the WCEG network. We're the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. Like WCEG on Facebook, follow on Twitter or Instagram at WCEG _talk _radio and at WCEG network. Last but not least, the topics and opinions are those of the show hosts and guests and not the WCEG network. Thank you so much for your continued support. Now, this is the week of celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King Day and just accomplishments and just so much more of this wonderful, wonderful activist that we are remembering this week. And that's going to tie into what I'm going to talk about today with my very special guest, Ty. But before I go bring him on, I want to read to you a little bit about who you're going to be listening to today. A St. Louis, Missouri native, Ty, the author of Mythz, The Beginning, is finally bringing his epic short story to Hollywood and the big screen. New to this side of the entertainment world, Ty has also chosen to hone and perfect his craft with the teachings of some of the best television and film instructors that Los Angeles has to offer. As an award-winning fitness instructor, Ty has found that motivating and inspiring people in their physical lives has helped in the transition of entertaining and opening their minds through his literary works. In 2007, his philanthropic work with the underprivileged youth in St. Louis's metropolitan area has been rewarded with the Tom Joyner National Real Fathers, Real Men Award. Currently, Ty is working on the release of Mythz, the next chapter, a sequel that finds the lead character questioning what side of good versus evil he is fighting on. So, without further ado, I want to bring on and introduce you to my dear friend, Ty Pruitt. Hey!
Hey, hey, hey.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good, Miss Sherita. I'm good.
Good, good, good. I'm so thankful to have you on. Wow, Ty, you and I go all the way back to when you and I both were working with movie producer, actor Bill Duke.
Yes, we do.
How many years ago was that? Because I know you're not working with Bill anymore right now either.
Ooh, that's wow. How many years has it been?
Was that around 2010, 2009,
Uh
11,
so
somewhere?
it was somewhere around 2010, 2011 because I moved to LA in 2009. September
Okay.
2009, I got to LA and I met Bill right afterwards. We met in the gym and we
Hmm.
immediately kind of hit it off and started working together. And then you came.
Yeah, yeah. We and we've had a great friendship ever since. I mean, you and
Oh,
I even oh, Tatiana. Also, I met
yeah,
along with you. And
yes,
so,
yes,
you know, always when you're working with someone, if you pay attention, you have some great relationships come out of that.
right.
And so it was wonderful in the way we met. So,
Well, Miss Sharita, I actually I struggle because every time I talk to you, I always want to say auntie, and because we have had this long relationship, and it's always been you've always been a blessing to me. No matter if you notice, anytime I do something new or try something else, I always send it to you, and I'm
I,
like. Unconsciously I'm kind of like looking for your approval, but I never ask for it. But I always want you to see what I'm working on and how I'm doing. So
and you know what? I'm so honored. I'm so honored by that, Ty, because my whole life has been around to hopefully inspire and help
yeah,
with the leadership development of our younger people. And so I've always felt that with you. And I'm so grateful, especially after we delve into your life, how you just keep bouncing back. And so what I'm going to do, speaking of that, I'm going to share my screen. And let's see, now as much as I do this. I want to share this cover right here. Let's see. Is it sharing? Ty, am I sharing the right thing?
I don't see it.
Let's see. Come on. I keep hitting resume, but it's not letting me resume. I'll come back to it. Maybe it's something my engineer needs to do.
Okay.
It's not letting me resume. Ty, your book, Hood, tell me a
Right.
little bit about that. And the reason why I wanted to show it is because you're this absolutely phenomenal fitness instructor, and the cover of your book reveals that.
Okay. So honestly, some people didn't want me to do it, to do that cover like that. They didn't want me to show all that skin. But I am absolutely, if you can see where I'm at, you see I'm in one of my weight rooms in my place. But my entire life has been about fitness, and the two things that saved my life that I feel is one, my baby brother work, raising him, and two, the fitness part of me, working
Mhm,
out. And
mhm,
when you look at the cover, what I wanted to do with this cover is explain what this book is about without explaining what this book is about.
mm,
So what I had when I put my body in there, this book is about three brothers who grow up in a very abusive home, and as they grow, once they become adults and they're living their own lives, they each go three separate ways.
mm.
So on my chest, I have a tattoo, Lady Justice, and
Right.
that stands for the older brother who became a district attorney. On the other side of my chest, I have a policeman's badge, which stands for the baby brother who became one of the top cops in the hood. And on my abs, I have two guns that explains the middle brother, which is me, that
Wow.
became one of the biggest, I guess you could say gangsters or thugs in the hood
Mhm.
because he didn't see a different way of life until he started working with his baby brother. So that's what that cover explains.
Wow. Wow. So this is like a memoir?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Right.
These are in the book. Every character in this book is a character from out of my life. I've changed
Wow.
names, some situations, but every character is a character from my life. As I said, when I talk about the middle brother, the middle brother who I named Israel, I named him Beast. He represents me and the life I went through when I was growing up.
Mm,
Uh, there's also a character in this book that I call King, and King is the biggest drug dealer in the hood. He's the biggest gangster in the hood, and he represents a guy. As I was explaining to you, I hit the streets when I was 14 because I had this fight with my father. Um, when I got in the streets, I was sleeping from house to house. My friends would let me bunk down here, bunk down there, and the streets started raising me. And this guy, and he owned most of like the gas stations throughout the neighborhood, and I knew him because my mother and I would go into his gas stations, and he was in love with my mother. So anytime he would see me and my mom in this gas station, he would always pull me to the side to try to get me to introduce. So when I got out there in the streets, this guy kind of took over as a father figure for me,
you under his wing. Uh-huh.
and he I was, staying at his house, driving his cars, and I'm like 14 or 15. And these are like, even now, this is something that me and my mother laugh about because I never told her what he wanted, but she knew who he was.
Hmm.
She
Hmm.
knew who he was, but I never told her how he felt about her. So it's kind of a running joke between me and my mother, but he's somebody that was important in my life. So I put it in this book.
I've got a question, a set of questions that I ask a lot of my guests. And one is the the what was the greatest obstacle that you feel that you've had to conquer in your life, since we're talking about your path?
Okay, for me, that that question is so deep for me because being born into the hood, and I think that a lot of people who were born in the situation that I was born in a very abusive home, poor, it's I didn't feel like there was any hope for me. So for me, the biggest obstacle I had was getting over the anger. And I, as a kid, as a young kid, I hated life. I hated God for
Mm,
putting me, for birthing me, allowing me to be birthed into the situation that I was in.
hmm
And I wanted revenge. And a lot of people ask me, well, what did you want revenge for? And my answer is always, I wanted revenge for being born.
mm, wow. Not for what's happening, but for being born.
Yeah,
You know, Ty, that reminds me of something that I saw just this week, and again with Dr. King, and he was talking about bootstraps. And the NBC newscaster asked him, "Well, what do you think is the problem with the Negro? Why can't they just pull themselves up by their own bootstraps?" And Dr. King said that's kind of hard to do when for a bootless man. And
yeah,
he went into the things that as African Americans that other immigrants that have come to our country, they were given land and they were given
yes,
all these things. But we as African Americans, not only were not given land, we had red line at later on had redlining and everything
yeah,
fighting against us for
yeah,
even having land. And so a lot of times, even now, people will ask, well, why are Black communities the way they are? Why is there so much crime? If you were thrown into a situation with no money,
yes,
no access,
yes,
can't leave your area, can't go into a particular place, can't even drink from the same water fountain, can't, and we can go on and on and
yes,
on.
yes, yes.
It just takes longer for people to be able to climb out of a hole that they have purposely been dug, that has been dug and they dropped into, you know?
Well,
And so when I,
Sharita, a
yes,
lot of people don't realize that even in World War II, when we were, as Negroes, we were helping America fight the Germans. When we brought prisoners back to America, those German prisoners were allowed in cafes that we were not allowed in as American soldiers because we were Black.
hmm
So, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of people don't
yes,
even realize that. A lot of people don't realize that the situation that we were in and that hasn't changed much.
right, right. And speaking of, we are celebrating Dr. King here 55 years later, we are still combating racism, police brutality. And that brings me to your cousin, Michael Brown, that was killed by a police officer on August 7th, 2014.
Yes, yes,
You became that spokesperson for your family. Um, and even when I watched that the rally that was held, I think on the 17th of August, a little less than a week later, or a little more than a week later, and it was Dr. King's son, Martin Luther King III, and Al Sharpton fighting this same fight.
yes.
What was in, because a lot of people that have watched you on the news never get to hear you in real time, see you talking and bringing it more personal. What was your, I know that a lot of thoughts were going through your head, but what was the most poignant thing that you can tell us now on where you were then?
So there's this there's a CNN segment that I did, I think, with Don Lemon, and I said to him that my heart was breaking twice. And one because my baby cousin was killed, and the second was because I was watching my city burn.
Mm-hmm.
And that just, it crushed me all around.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that a lot of people don't understand the way I found out that my baby cousin was killed. I had already moved to LA and I was working on, my public relations. I was trying to promote the book, things. I was working in the industry and I'm on Facebook one day and I see this kid in a neighborhood that I kind of recognize laying in a pool of blood face down. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, wow. And I start seeing my family members around. and it had recently happened. So nobody called me. And so when I
Ah,
saw I actually see my mother on screen, and I call my mother and I'm like, yo, what's going on? And that's when she burst out in tears and told me that was my baby cousin. So that's how I found out about Mike being killed.
wow.
So once that happened, I was working on the show Anger Management with Charlie Sheen. And once that happened, I was distraught. So I let the producers know that I wasn't going to be able to, I had to get back home. And this is just something that I always I throw out there, because I know a lot of people have this thought process about who Charlie Sheen is, but when Charlie found out, he put me on a plane and flew me back to St. Louis.
Mm,
And nobody knows that. And I always tell people that's how I got back to St. Louis. Charlie
wow.
put me on a plane, flew me back to St. Louis so I could be with my family. And then a couple of days into that, I got a call from the head producer, and he was like, "Yo, Charlie, want to know if you need some money, if if he needs to send you something." So
Still
that
checking
is
on you.
yeah, and a lot of people, I know a lot of people hate Charlie Sheen, this, that, but I will always have a love and a respect for Charlie Sheen, no matter what, because
Yes,
I know him as a person and not as the entertainer.
the entertainer and what people are getting from the news or whatever.
Exactly, exactly.
It's you and I have talked about this often. We even after George Floyd started bringing some things out in the forefront. Um, what what would you I know that you work with young people. Matter of fact, you've been awarded the Tom Joyner Award for the work that you do with young people. I
Yes,
was just saying recently to someone, everybody's in an uproar about is Trump going to be president or who's going to be president? And it's not that I won't vote, but what I say all the time is until we all can work with people at the grassroots level. I mean, if
yes,
we can get to people at the grassroots level, like how you had someone that took you under their wing
yes,
as a young man, if and that's why I strive so hard to bring individuals like you on to work in community, because when we can work with people at the grassroots level and make a difference in their lives, then right then it doesn't matter who's president
right,
because
right,
they're not at the level where that's going to interact in their lives anyway. Yes, there's bills that are passed, there's different things that happen out of the presidency
right,
that trickle down to impact community. But if people aren't in the right mindset, whatever is coming their way doesn't make a difference. And
right,
so, Ty, for you to go through the things that you've gone through, I mean, it just amazes me how you still come out shining, and it's like that diamond in the rough. I want to play something real quick before, and then I want to talk about it. This is you on Skid Row, and let's see. I want to share my screen, and then I want you to talk about it. Come on. I keep trying to get there, share my screen. Everything is little, so give me a moment here. And I want you to talk about this because this is important. Is it showing? Come on.
If he was ever there. And then they quickly disappear. And when they are gone, he's forgotten without a trace, as if he never existed. And that's all. Hi, I'm Todd, and I just spent a week on Skid Row. My purpose for spending a week on Skid Row was the fact that I had heard so much about Skid Row and so many people are afraid of it. And I come from St. Louis, where not everybody's rich, and we're just Midwesterners. We live life easy and we live life simple. And I wanted to see what Skid Row was all about. I wanted to find out what people were so afraid of, and two, what the conditions were. So I packed up my gear and I went down to Skid Row and I stayed there.
I'm going to stop there, Ty, and I want you to tell us the rest, what triggered it and what came out of it.
Wow. So when I moved to LA, as you said, shortly after I moved to LA, I started working with Bill Duke. So for me, coming from a very humble past, what Bill showed me was like the glitz and glam Bella. And I kept hearing about Skid Row, but I had never been on Skid Row. But I know that with me, any place I travel, I've traveled to a lot of countries, and anytime I travel, I want to see people from the street level. So when I had this idea, I told one of my producers, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take a sleeping bag and I'm gonna go sleep on Skid Row for about, for 8 days and 8 nights, and I'm gonna film it. And my producer said to me, if you live through it, it's gonna be an amazing film. And I was like, if I live through it. So yeah, and that's when you see me being interviewed, that's actually my producer interviewing me about the Skid Row thing. We just put cuts in it to show me on Skid Row and then to show me talking about it. Um, but when I went down there, Sharita, I found these people to be so amazing, and like they had nothing, but they had community, and they treated each other like, yeah. And I'm not gonna lie to you, there was violence, there was prostitution, I mean, there was a lot going on down there because I was sleeping. I was literally sleeping on the streets. What you saw in that little scene, me carrying my backpack and a sleeping bag, that's all I took. I
And I
didn't
saw
take
that the first night, it kind of took you a moment to find a spot because everybody got their spot,
exactly,
right?
exactly. I couldn't. I only slept. I was only able to take like a half an hour nap the first night because I was. I found this park in downtown and I was sleeping down there, and this cop kicked me in the head to get me up because he said I couldn't sleep there, and I got up and I was like, wow, okay. So
Hmm.
now I know how you treat the rest of the homeless people. So that's kind of when that's why when you watch this film, you see me throughout the film talking about the process of I was trying to have this conversation with the cops. Because when I actually went to the police station and explained to them who I was, they were like, "Oh, we apologize, we're sorry." And I'm like, "Yeah, you shouldn't be doing that to anybody.
Hmm.
Just because I'm a filmmaker, just I mean, that just means you got caught. But you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be kicking anybody in the head. Like, what are you doing?" So
Yes.
a few of them talked to me off camera. They wouldn't talk to me on camera. But yeah, to get back to what I found down there, it's like the first guy that I interviewed. Um, this guy took me under his wing. When he found out I was staying down there, he took me to the garbage cans, like to get cardboard, because he explained to me that you can't just sleep on the concrete with your sleeping bag. You got to put cardboard under it to insulate, and that it'll help you sleep a little better. And then he was like, I could take you
Can you
places and
tell
fun.
who you were meeting with and who was guiding you?
It's forgive me, Sherita. I always remember his name.
Was it
Uh,
OG?
huh?
Was it OG?
No, no, no. It was that was I met OG on the first night because he just kept walking back and forth.
Yeah.
Ronald, and he's my first interview, Ronald. And
Yeah.
he actually literally saved me on like the last day.
He runs the
'Cause
basketball program down there too, doesn't he? Is he
Ronald,
is he the one that
no,
runs the basketball program?
I ran into a different guy who was running
Okay.
a basketball basketball program. I ran into a guy who was fighting for them to just be able to have showers. I ran into a church group that goes down there and speaks to them all the time. I ran into a lot of great people, but I also
Right.
ran into a lot of like, I find that some of these organizations are more about, clashing with the cops than helping the people. And I ran into some of those organizations as well. So
Okay.
it was a lot of, because I actually went down there as a homeless person. I wanted them to be comfortable with me. I didn't want to go down there with hair and makeup and all that, and have other people with cameras. So that's why when you watch the film, it's kind of gritty because I took this
Now tell
small
me this.
digital, huh?
Speaking of watching the film, can they go and watch the film?
Oh,
Where would they go?
absolutely. It's streaming on YouTube. I have it streaming on YouTube now. It's a week on Skid Row, but you have to type in by Ty Pruitt. And
By
once you
Ty
type
Pruitt.
in by Ty Pruitt, it'll pop up and it's an hour long. It's like I had 8 days and 8 nights of footage, but I had to narrow it down to
Wow.
an hour to be able to, stream it and get it out there. But it actually won awards in the film festival. It won Best Political Film of the Year, and I didn't even think it was political, but but apparently it made a statement. So yeah, I'm extremely proud of that film because
Well,
of
now, Ty, I can't believe how quickly the show goes. They can get your film on YouTube.
yes.
If they want to reach you, I want to make sure that I put that out there. How can they reach the great Ty Pruitt?
Well, I'm always on social media. Reach out to me on Instagram mostly. I don't
Okay.
have Facebook, but Instagram mostly. Ty
At
Ty
Ty.
underscore
Mhm.
Pruitt. No, no, no. It's
Ty.
Ty Ty
Uh-huh.
dot Pruitt, Pruitt, and you
Okay.
should be. Once you type that in, you'll see me in a black suit. So you'll see it. You'll see me. You'll know it's me when you see
Yeah,
it.
that's such a great picture of you too. And also, Ty, you developed your nonprofit,
Yes,
um, A Chance for Life.
yes. A chance for life.
Yeah, yeah, we did that nonprofit like right after that, right? Was it
Right
in?
after that.
Yeah.
What I realized, Sherita, and this was something that hit me hard. You talk about what I when I won the Tom Joyner Morning Award, Real Fathers, Real Men. Well, first of all, just so people know, I don't have kids. So when I won the Real Fathers, Real Men Award, that was kind of shocking to me because I don't have kids. But these teachers, because I was volunteering in the inner city schools throughout St. Louis, I refused to take any money from the school district. These teachers got together and they put my name they put my name out there. So that's how I won that award. But I was working with kids from kindergarten to fifth grade. And when my
Wow.
baby cousin was killed, it hit me hard because I realized that I had forgotten that age group and
Mm.
I was just working with the younger kids. So that's when I started working with you to develop that age group, and I wanted to start going to the juvenile detentions and talking to. I've been mentoring like young guys out here for since that time.
Well, Ty, like I said, I knew the show was going to go short, and I want to bring you back for a part two in about 2 weeks. I think
Okay.
I have an open schedule with that. And I want to talk more about your book. I want to talk about which is Myths,
Yes.
and I want the entire show to be around that. And I have been reading some of the um, what do you call it? The manuscript,
Yes.
which is unbelievable. And thank you for even trusting me to send that to me. I want to talk about that. And
Okay.
so, uh, thank you. Thank you for being on my short show. And we had a lot of action-packed information in here. Um, I look forward to having you on the next show. What is your Instagram again?
It's Ty Pruitt, Ty Ty dot Pruitt, Pruitt.
And that's on Instagram. That's where you're
That's
most
Instagram. That's where I'm mostly at on Instagram.
okay. Do
That's
you,
where I upload all my promotions.
okay. And is there, if someone wants to call you and talk about anything, do you take calls? Or you would just rather them reach out to you on social media?
Yes, reach out to me on social media. Let's get to know each other first before we have that.
Yeah, I don't want all the ladies trying to get with the young man. especially after they saw the cover and see that what's under that shirt. So,
I'm just saying. Listen, let me just give you this little secret. I told you I changed everything about me. I am 14 years celibate. So
ah,
yes,
what a blessing is that?
yes.
Well, Ty, what a way to end the show. I want to thank you for being on, and we definitely are going to bring you back shortly. Again,
Okay.
this is Sherita Herring with Beverly Hills to Barnyard, bringing you the newsmakers from all over the country, all over the world. Stay tuned for the recording on my Facebook page and on the WCEG network. And we look forward to seeing you next week right here on Beverly Hills to Barnyard.